Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Workplace Relations and Safety. Does she agree with Andrea Vance, who said about the Equal Pay Amendment Bill, quote, "It is a curious feminist moment, isn't it? 6 girl bosses, Willis, her hype squad, Judith Collins, Erica Stanford, Louise Upston, Nicola Grigg and Brooke van Velden, all united in a historic act of economic backhanding other women," unquote. If not, how is unilaterally stopping 33 pay equity claims not a historic act of economic backhanding other women?
Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Shane Jones.
So I raise a very serious point of order. It's quite clear in Standing Orders 390(1)(c), it's quite clear from Speaker's rulings that it is not in order to, quote, "in such a way you bring fellow members of the House into disrepute." How on earth this question got through your process, that's something that obviously you can address. I'm aware that Speaker's ruling 175 does enable a member to ask a minister for matters that they're responsible for. But any reasonable person watching today knows that that member is asking a question containing material derived from an article designed to bring my colleagues into disrepute.
Well, thank you for firstly giving me the opportunity to review my own performance, and I will undertake that with some vigour. First point is that Standing Order 390(1)(1) makes it clear that the bar for discreditable references is a very high one. Criticism of a government policy, even if it is in the strongest terms, is permitted. That's why we have a parliament. And so the system of accountability that we have means that if a government minister has a responsibility in a particular area, they can be questioned on opinions that might come from somebody in the media, as is the case here. And I'll further reference Speaker's ruling 1755. Ministers can be asked if they agree with the opinions of others, so long as the opinion is about something the minister is responsible for. That brings this, although it's uncomfortable and could be considered a little pointed, it is within the scope of current standing orders and Speaker's rulings. A point of order.
But 175, sir, has to be contrasted with 192. And I'd invite you to look very carefully at Smith's ruling 192(5).
I will certainly do that. Thank you for the advice. Brooke van Velden.
Mr Speaker.
Point of order, the Honourable Chris Bishop.
Mr Speaker, I want to test with you the scope of what you've just ruled. Are you now saying that...
I want to make it clear, I'm quoting standing orders and existing Speaker's rulings.
Is it therefore an order, sir, for the government to find any old article about anyone in the House and ask themselves questions about the opposition in order to respond to particular areas within their scope of ministerial responsibility? Because that is the potential...
No, it's not. And that's a ridiculous proposition, because standing orders make it very clear that a question in the House cannot be used to attack the opposition. No, don't. If you stand on your feet if you're going to talk to me. And if you can find some clever ways that get past me, good luck. That's, the government wants to waste its time doing that. It's perfectly acceptable. Ronald Winston-Peters speaking.
Mr Speaker, look, Mr Speaker, yes, I want to refer you to 391(c), which says questions must be concise and not contain discreditable references to the House or any member of the Parliament or any offensive or unparliamentary expression. That catches the provision that Mr Jones is complaining about.
Mr Speaker.
Oh, sorry, what did you say? 390, sorry, we must get it right. What was the...
It's 391(c). Discreditable references to the House or any member of Parliament or any offensive or unparliamentary expression. It says at the beginning it must be concise and not contain that. So the court, and I don't know how it got through the...
Yeah, well, the point is it says the question must not contain. The question itself is, does she agree with a comment made by someone else? I mean, how would a democracy work if there can be never any questions in the House about what people outside the House have to say? What people are reading in their newspapers, etc., etc. Why would you want to deny the Minister the opportunity to refute that? Speaking of the point of order, the Honourable Chris...
Mr Speaker, this question refers to girl bosses and hype squads. How can that be consistent with 192(5) about discreditable references to any member of Parliament, an unparliamentary expression, except it's in a quotation from a newspaper article, which many members found offensive? How can those references possibly be in order?
Sorry, listen, we're going to start again if people can't do that. Next person that speaks during a point of order will be having an early afternoon.
Primary questions, and the purpose of question time is to elucidate facts, not to have a go at the government ministers by way of quoting offensive newspaper articles through quotations and primary questions. It clearly falls foul of Speaker's ruling 192(5).
Yes, but I've just ruled that it doesn't. So that is the end of that, and we'll have Brooke van Velden answer the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it was hard to find a single sentence in Andrea Vance's article I agree with.
That would be enough of an answer. Another supplementary?
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
No, there's no point of order on this. You've answered the question. It's a controversial question. I'm keeping order in the House. The member would be advised to take my advice, resume her seat and take the next supplementary.
Supplementary. Does she believe that teachers are entitled to pay equity? And, if so, why did she say they don't have a right to be angry at her changes?
Mr. Speaker, point of order. I was not given the opportunity to answer the second part of that question, so I did not answer the primary question.
With respect, I ruled that you did answer enough of it, and I'm now telling the House that the first supplementary does not relate to the primary. So we'll move on if everyone's ready.
Point of order, sir.
Point of order.
I actually agree with the Minister in the sense that in not being allowed to answer the second part of the question, fully accepting that the first part was answered, it then makes the supplementary question that was asked not relevant. If the second part of the question was addressed by the Minister, it is absolutely, the supplementary was absolutely linked to the primary, sir.
Yes, but you can't, suppose what the second part is. I've taken a simple view that the first part of the primary question asks if the Minister agrees. She said she doesn't. There can't be a second part beyond that. There is a point of order. This better be something that's really useful.
I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, we've got a minister here who has been attacked by a very questionable question. And I think the best thing that can happen right now, instead of everyone else interrupting, she should be given a full opportunity to respond the way she wants to.
Well, thank you for your view. I don't agree with you.
Supplementary.
No, your first one was out of order, so have a go.
I can bring one into order.
Point of order, Brooke van Velden.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a strong woman and I can speak for myself.
Absolutely.
That's good. And you only get to do that. You only get to do that when you're called to do it. This is a highly controversial question. You answered that you didn't agree with anything in the article. I've ruled there can't be a further question on it. This question can attempt it, but I think we're going to be moving on if it doesn't meet the test.
How is unilaterally stopping 33 pay equity claims not a historic act of economic backhanding other women?
Mr. Speaker, I disagree with the comments made, and particularly the note of the use of the term backhanded, which refers to Andrea Vance's article, which was quoted from this weekend. And I do not agree with the clearly gendered and patronising language that Andrea Vance used to reduce senior cabinet ministers to girl bosses, hype squads, references to girl math and cunts.
That's right.
The women of this government are hard-working, dedicated and strong.
That's right.
No woman in this parliament, nor in this country, should be subjected to sex-based discrimination.
That's right.
And I'll tell you who I do agree with.
That's right.
I agree with the former Minister for Women, Jan Tinetti, who said that misogynistic abuse against women in public office was an indictment on our society. I actually think it's very curious, and it's a very curious feminist moment when a former Minister for Women repeats parts of a clearly misogynistic article in this House.
Good. That's enough. Just let me make it very clear that while the... Who's speaking? Just let me make it as clear as I can. While the Minister was giving an answer that was quoting commentary from a news article, it may have been better to refrain from one word that was fully expressed.
Supplementary. Is her idea of a, quote, robust and workable, unquote, pay equity system one that entrenches women being paid less than their worth?
Mr. Speaker, the whole point of a pay equity system is to find sex-based discrimination and stamp it out. That is what this government is keeping. I have heard so many references from people across this chamber to things that this government is not doing. We are not cutting women's pay. We're not cutting equal pay. We're not removing a pay equity system. We are making the pay equity system better so that we can find sex-based discrimination and stamp it out.
Was changing the threshold for female-dominated work from 60 to 70% a result of feedback and consultation, or simply the first number the Minister thought of?
I can think of many numbers, and I would suspect that the Minister for Women should stop refraining from attention. The former Minister for Women should refrain from any attempt to conflate those numbers with girl math like Andrea Vance did.
How about 8%?
Mr. Speaker.
Lost the seat. There's the number.
Just wait till your colleague has finished the rant.
Was saving Nicola Willis's budget worth gutting the future pay of 180,000 workers?
No, you could start that question again. Right, we've had people being very pedantic about how questions should be asked.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That certainly doesn't meet any test.
Was saving the budget worth...
You can't make
Okay,
that
I will
point
go
on.
on to my next one, Mr. Speaker. Was saving, quote, unquote, the budget worth gutting the future of 180,000 workers?
Mr. Speaker, nobody's pay has been cut.
That's right.
Does she believe that teachers are entitled to pay equity? And if so, why did she say they don't have a right to be angry at her changes?
Mr. Speaker, anybody can bring a pay equity claim.